Hi everyone, it's me, Tim, and it's tough love today on the Kanon Games channel because I want all of you to stop making excuses and start making games. Consider this my Shia LaBeouf Just Do It motivational speech video. But I've told you guys I read the comments, and I'm reading comments with so many different reasons that people are rationalizing why they're not working on a game. So let's walk through some of those. And then at the end, I'll give you some ideas for games you can make that will help you get started because they're compartmentalized nicely. Anyway, here's some of the reasons I see people saying they're not making games. They don't have any time. This is the number one reason people love to give for everything. It's the procrastinators blue plate special of excuses. You do have time. You're watching this video right now. If you stop watching my videos, they'll be there in a few months waiting for you to come back to them. But if you spent 15 minutes a day just working on something, you'll start to get results. I know that doesn't sound like you can with such a short period of time, but I'm going to talk about a couple projects you can do that you can literally work on them in little increments every day. Some of you go, well, I don't have any money. I can't get started. Wow. This maybe was true 40 years ago when you had to make everything from scratch. But the fact that Godot and Unreal and Unity and Game Salad and all these other engines are completely free for you to play with. There's no excuse. You certainly probably, well, I shouldn't say certainly, but you almost certainly have a device in your house that can run those and just let you play with making things. The most bare bones PC or Mac or Linux box can run these things. So the barrier to entry has never ever been smaller. I see really common excuses. Well, I can't do it all. You don't have to. You literally don't have to anymore. There is so much stuff out there that is free. And I'll show you when I was making one of my little toy games, I can't do art. I can't do sound. But there's a lot of places where you can just download stuff, especially if you're just going to play with it. You don't need a license. People offer it up. There's so many tutorials out there, and they offer, like, here's a model. Here's a piece of code to get you started. Here's some sound effects. Just do it. Just do it. Just grab these things and start putting stuff together. The amount of work you have to do has never been smaller. So if you can't do this now, you need to look at everybody who's ever made a game before and go, how did they do it? I know some of you are going, why should I do it? It's too hard to get in the business anyway. It's pointless. To all of which I can say is, I've talked about this so many times. If you have a demo, it will be easier for you to get into the business. It will at least get you more interviews. It'll get you people asking how you did some things, how you learned some things. Sometimes we hire people. I remember interviewing some people and just going, wow, they figured that out on their own. This is the kind of person I want on my game. So when we run into things that none of us can figure out, well, this person will try to figure it out on their own. They just won't go, well, I'm stuck. I'm done. I'm going to sit here and wait until somebody tells me what to do. And then I've read another one that people talk about that, sure, from my viewpoint, this stuff should be easy because I'm so entitled. To all I can say is, if first of all, I don't think I'm nearly as well off or whatever as you think I am. But compare me. Don't compare yourself to me now. Compare yourself to me when I got started. When I was, in high school, I had to go to the library to figure out a lot of this stuff. There was no one to explain how the Atari worked to me. Even the teacher we had at school who was in charge of the computer labs didn't know how they worked. All he could do is point me to books and give me some of the tech manuals that came with the computer and said, figure it out. But, also, before I decided to get back into the business, when I went to Interplay, I was a student. I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt. yeah, it was a bit of a risk to jump in there. I could have gotten a better paying, safer job, but I didn't. And you can always do that, and if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. You're not going to you at least you can look back and say I don't regret not trying it because at least I tried it. So all I can tell you is you can't compare yourself to that. I mean, I did that Nuka Break acting, if you can call it that. I wasn't comparing myself to the other actors who were in that. I mean, they were amazing. I wasn't sitting there going, yeah, I shouldn't do this because these people are amazing. It was like, I get to stand next to these people and not look stupid for a few minutes. It'd be like me comparing myself to, I don't know. I don't really follow actors. Who's considered a good actor? I don't know. But it's dumb. I mean, it'd be like me saying I want to direct a movie, but that's Steven Spielberg. He's so entitled. He gets all the best projects. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. So, let's talk about what you can do to get started. I showed a video months ago when I was up in the middle of the night with insomnia on a little space combat game I made. Let's just bring that up. This is a great game for you to try to make yourself because it will teach you a lot of the basics. I did it in Unity, so let's just walk through what this will teach you about Unity. First of all, you have to set up a project. You'll learn how to do that. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but there are some things involved with when you first set up a project in Unity and you have to decide, is it going to be a 2D, 3D? What's it going to be named? Where am I going to keep it? What models am I going to use? Like I said, there's free stuff online. I grabbed a free Starship model. I grabbed some skyboxes that people offered for free just so I could get started. So the very first thing I learned how to do, or relearned, because I already kind of knew it, but I hadn't touched Unity in years when I did that, was just how to do player movement. How to translate events coming in from the keyboard and the mouse into moving the ship around. That right there is a big chunk of what you're going to have to do in every game. And there's decisions to be made, like, do I want inertia? When I stop pushing forward, do I want the ship to keep going forward? When I bank, do I want it to re-level after I stop banking? These are all decisions you're going to have to make and learn how to code. There is code out there that will do some of these basic things for you. Download it, look at it, play with it, modify it. Learning how to put up a skybox is something right there. Grab a skybox online, figure out where you have to put it in Unity, what it looks like, how you're supposed to move the player around in the skybox. You will quickly notice that because the skybox is infinite distance away, you can tell when you go up and down and bank, but you can't really tell if you're going forward or back. So that's when I added stars to the scene. And the stars right there, I had to learn how to do that. I was like, I'm going to have to put these little spheres. Oh, shoot, now I've got to put some ambient lighting in the scene because I can't really see them well. And now I'm going to have to decide how far away they get before I destruct them or move them. So I don't want a lot of destruction and recreation going on. Move them to a new location out in front of me so it always looks like there's stars coming. So I don't go by a bunch of stars and now they're all behind me. These are all things you have to learn while you're doing it. Then you can start putting in other ships. You already have a Starship model, the one you're using on your player. Throw some of them out there. Now you will learn how to make them move around, which will teach you some basic AI. Everything in Unity is driven by that update function. You can just keep a state on there and have a player, whenever it gets called update, moves itself a little bit. You can put in firing photons. That'll teach you, again, how to move objects in the world. But it'll also teach you how to do collision and how to track damage on your ship and the enemy ships, and when to mark an enemy ship as destroyed and what to do, like to replace its model with an explosion. Oh, now you're learning particle effects. So this was a really good way of learning all those things in one collapsed little thing. But then it was reminded me, and I wish I could show it because I know I said I'd keep everything. I can't find this. When I was teaching myself C#, I already knew C and C++, but I wanted to learn C#. This is like in the early 2000s. I put together an image filtering program. And this was just something that you could load in pictures and do things to them, make them black and white. Run a bunch of things called convolution matrices, which I'll talk in a second. But just this simple image filter program taught me so much about how to do things in C Sharp. I had to learn how to work with the file system. I had to learn how to load and save files, especially files that were using JPEG format. So I had to learn that. By the way, C Sharp makes that a lot easier than C. I had to learn how to make a UI in C Sharp. I had to do filters on the actual images. And I did something called convolution matrix filters. These are basically, if you treat your image as a texture, there are lots of different convolution matrices. They're called kernels, I think, that when you apply them along in rows and columns to the original image, you get a new image. This is how sharpen filters work, blur filters, embossing, edge detection. All of these are just different forms of what are called convolution matrix filters. Learn one, you now know them all. So it was a really cool thing to do. Now, in all of this, I also learned how to use C Sharp. I think I was doing it in Visual Studio. But I also learned two important lessons about C Sharp. It was really fast to develop this image filter program because C Sharp does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It does a lot of loading and saving and some of the UI work for me. But the resulting program was really slow. For comparison, I wrote my own version in C. I had to do a lot more work. It took me a few days to make the image program in C Sharp. It probably took me a few weeks to make it in C. But the C one did in a second what the C Sharp one took 30 seconds or a minute. Like applying one of those convolution matrix filters. Literally, some of them took a minute to do in C Sharp that ran in a second or less in C. Something to learn right there. And that's something that you learn by doing. You can read it all you want, but then when you do it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so. So then I learned how to do some optimizations. And there was a limit to how much you can optimize in C Sharp because it hides things from you. I know people only talk about it, but like C is right above assembly, and then C Sharp layers a bunch of stuff on top of that. I mean C++, and then C Sharp layers even more. So the farther away you get from writing the chip, the slower things get. So either one of these, doing a Starship, little mini Starship combat game, or just writing an image filtering program, both of those will teach you so much about just how to put together a small little game or app. Try it. Do it. Just remember, I want you to make games. It's kind of the whole point of this channel. So stop making excuses and start making things.